Hey folks, welcome back to the JLAMBCAST MMA show. We've got some fun stuff to talk about today. So we just had the return of TJ Dillashaw versus Corey Sandhagen UFC event. We'll unpack a little bit of that. Also this weekend we have Uriah Hall versus Sean Strickland fight card. We'll go over that one too. A little bit of news up in here. I believe they just announced that the fight is set for UFC 268 in New York City. Colby Covington takes on the champion Kamaru Usman, and that's gonna be in New York City of all places during COVID. Like, what's up? Let's come out on the other end of this thing, why don't you? Like, I like it. All right. So I like that news. Another little bit of news. Logan Paul apparently is going to is in talks to fight to box rather. Anderson the Spider Silva, who we just saw about a month ago. He fought Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. You know, if you follow boxing, Hall of Fame son, or son of the Hall of Famer Julio Cesar Chavez. His son is no slouch. I mean, his son was, he was a good boxer, and for all intents and purposes, still is a good boxer. Had a great career. Maybe didn't live up to the Chavez name, much like his, that reputation of his father, but certainly was a one hell of a boxer in his own right. And Anderson Silva came in and really pieced him up. I mean, he just looked phenomenal. Logan Paul, coming off of his lackluster. I mean, I wouldn't call it a lackluster. I mean, he was a 200-pound guy fighting a 140-pound guy. That 60-pound disparity was evident in his fight with Floyd Mayweather. So, this one might actually be a little bit worth a watch. A little bit more worth a watch than say, a Floyd Mayweather for Logan Paul. Just for the quality of boxing. I would say it's a good test for Logan Paul. I would say it's a good payday for Anderson Silva, who, I don't think he's ever officially said that he's retired from mixed martial arts, but he's definitely said that he's going to go on to other ventures. And boxing Julio Cesar Chavez down in Mexico, and came out huge surprise with how good he looked doing it. So that's on tap. Of course, Logan Paul's brother Jake is supposed to be fighting former UFC welterweight champion Tyron Woodley, and I think that one's coming up sometime. I think it's late August. Might be late August. I don't know. I don't care to look it up. Not that important. But that one hopefully will be a better fight. The ridiculousness that was him fighting Ben Askren was laughable, as has been most of Jake Paul's opponents so far. So Tyron Woodley, who was a welterweight champion, welterweight division in the UFC, is of course 170 pounds, but I would say, somebody like Tyron Woodley, anybody that's in the 170-pound division, with a few exceptions, most of them walk around that 185 to 195 frame and cut down a lot. And I think Tyron Woodley, who had missed weight or had some weight issues, probably since he's been let go by the UFC, is probably every bit of 200 pounds. So this seems like more of an even-weighted matchup between him and Jake Paul. So that's my only point about that. But so and that I don't think there's any other Any other gigantic news? They just announced Tai Bam Bam Tuivasa. He's gonna be making a quick turnaround and fighting again in Abu Dhabi. He was just on the Conor McGregor card, and so I would say that's a pretty quick turnaround for him. But good on him. They are going back to Fight Island. I believe it's UFC 267 in October, and that is going to be. I believe it's October. I don't know. We can look that up. I'm not too worried about it. But let's break down the UFC fight night that was this past Saturday at the UFC Apex. They did have fans again. Good to see. Of course, the Apex does have very, very limited seating. So, but a good pop from the crowd there. I thought there were some good fights. We'll switch this over here and take a look. All right. So we'll start off with the prelims. Now, I got a lot of these. Some of these I got wrong, and then some of them, I feel like the judging on this event, I think we were robbed of certain finishes here. We'll get into that more because I believe it happened a lot more in the main card than in the prelims. Started off in the prelims here. Hannah Goldie of Contender Series fame fought Diana Belbita. Hannah Goldie, this was her first time fighting in a while. She looked a little bit rusty. She looked absolutely chiseled in there. And sometimes fighters that she's always looked chiseled, but in this case, I think she looked very, very well defined in the octagon. But for her, it was more. I think it was a hindrance for her in this case. She didn't look as smooth as I've seen her look before. She definitely got hurt. She was on the end of a little bit of Belbita's punches there, and ultimately Diana Belbita got the victory. It was a very close as far as the odds went, but a very definitive win for Diana Belbita, and I don't think it's a minor setback. Hannah Goldie is still young. She has a ton of potential. I think she does have star power. I think she just needs more inside the octagon, more frequency inside the octagon. If she can turn things right back around and be back in the cage, by the end of the year, I'm talking October, November, December. But if we're going to see her, again, March of next year, sometimes time passes a little too much. Some fighters are affected by ring rust, some aren't. She certainly looked a bit rusty. She didn't look as impactful as I've seen her look, on the Contender Series and other fights that I've seen her in. But I do like her a lot. I do see a ton of potential in her, and hope she turns things around for us. The next fight, Sijara Sarge Eubanks versus Elise Reed. Elise Reed, first fight in the UFC. Sijara Eubanks, she came out guns blazing. She got the TKO. Referee intervened. 3:49 of the first round. Eubanks looked like a monster out there. So good on her. Andre Ewell versus Julio Arce. That was a great fight. Coming in, both guys were back and forth. Julio Arce did get the victory, and that was a good one. Mickey Gall versus Jordan Williams. Mickey Gall, showcased a lot of his striking. Hurt Williams several times. It looked like he hurt him, and he ultimately got the rear naked choke submission in the first round. And Mickey Gall didn't look like he took a lot of damage. So the key for Mickey Gall and his future, because another one that has a little bit of star power there. I mean, you remember he came on the scene and Dana White looking for a fight and calling out CM Punk. And, I think his injuries had been derailed him a little bit. And, this is several years ago we're talking about, and we've only seen him a handful of times since then. But consistency on getting back into the cage, much like with Hannah Goldie, Mickey Gall, I think the same thing. He looked pretty unscathed. I don't know how his training camp went, but he was talking in the cage about, potentially coming back before the end of the year, and I hope so, because I think he needs to ride this type of hot streak here, because he has a ton of potential. I do like him a lot. So, Nasruddin Imavov versus Ian Heinisch. Imavov came out and really looked strong against Heinisch. I was more surprised. I knew Imavov would look good in this fight. Heinisch looked very flat, very, very flat, and that's unlike him. So Imavov, look out for him. He's got some. He's got some star power there. I don't know if it's star power behind the mic, but he's got some star power in the cage. Go up to the main card. Now, this was the fight that I was most impressed with. This was electric for the 2 rounds that it lasted. Adrian Yanez versus Randy Costa. Adrian Yanez, another one that came from the Contender Series. He came in, and Randy Costa looked great. Adrian Yanez looked better. Then you went in with next fight on the main card was Miranda Maverick versus Macy Barber. Macy Barber, another one coming off of a little bit of a layoff. Miranda Maverick has looked impressive in every fight that she's been in. I think this is where the judges got it wrong. I believe Miranda Maverick was the tone setter of this fight. She was the aggressor. She was landing the better shots. I mean, it was just, for all intents and purposes, I don't know how 2 of the judges had it for Barber. And I think Daniel Cormier was one of... at the announce table when Macy Barber was leaving the cage, said, I think the judges got this one wrong. I think this was a loss, and Macy just got away with one. I 100% agree. 100% agree. The next one, Darren the Damage Elkins, making fun of his tattoo. What does he do? He goes out and slaughters Derek Minner impressively. And then the co-main event was Kyler Phillips versus Roland Paiva. And another one that Kyler Phillips came out flashy and landing a lot of stuff and was the aggressor. Paiva landed shots too. In my personal opinion, it looked like for at least the first 2, I know the first 2 rounds had to have gone to Kyler Phillips. I just don't see how any other round. That 3rd round, I could see Paiva getting that. Kyler Phillips was slowing down tremendously by the time the 3rd round hit, but I don't know. I just don't know. To me, I had 2-1 for Kyler Phillips. Either way, the judges ruled in Paiva's favor and gave him the decision, majority decision. And then we get to the main event. Corey Sandhagen versus returning TJ Dillashaw. You can call him a cheat. You can call him the bad guy. I don't think he really cares at this point. I mean, you make up your own opinions. He is still a world-class fighter. After serving his 18-month suspension, I believe it was. Corey Sandhagen up there in a top contender spot. And it was a split decision. It went all 5 rounds. Sandhagen looked great after 5 rounds. Dillashaw looked like he had been beaten with a bag of nickels. And, another one where I think the judges absolutely got it wrong. I don't understand. Dillashaw, you just look at his face. He ate knees. He ate punches. Corey Sandhagen had good range. Dillashaw, won the wrestling battle. Sure, he does. I mean, that's what he does. I don't think that I don't know. It's hard to say. Dillashaw does have a gas tank on him. Sandhagen has a gas tank on him too. I just wouldn't call Dillashaw the fresher fighter after those 5 rounds. So either way, I mean, questionable judging for this card, and I feel that robs us as fans. But this shit happens. It happens sometimes, and unfortunately, we had several of them all on one card. So I have no doubt that we'll probably see a second fight from these 2 guys down the road. It's inevitable. Sandhagen, he's not going anywhere. He's going to stay at the top of the division. Dillashaw, does he get the next title shot? I don't know. I don't think so. It could. I mean, you could sell some pay-per-views. He was talking a lot of trash towards Petr Yan and Aljamain Sterling, who are going to fight UFC 266, I believe. Yeah, it's 266. I believe it's the September one. After our next pay-per-view, which is UFC 267, in just under 2 weeks, we get the interim title fight for Derek the Black Beast Lewis versus Cyril Gane, and Amanda Nunes. Her title fight, that's going to be a great one. So yeah, it would be 266 that we get to see Petr Yan and Aljo run it back again after that illegal knee ended the fight, and subsequently gave the title over to Aljamain Sterling. So these 2 guys sitting in the wings. I mean, Sandhagen taking the loss. I don't know if you can't. I mean, I don't see how you can give the title fight to him, Dillashaw. I don't know. I don't know if you can give. Maybe if it's marketable enough, the UFC will do it. If Dana White sees dollar signs, Dana White will put it together. In much way the same that they're talking about Cody Garbrandt, who's just coming off a loss, going down and fighting Brandon Moreno at flyweight, which doesn't make a lot of sense. And nothing against Cody Garbrandt. He's absolutely a ferocious fighter and is a huge draw. He's a name. Stylistically, it kind of makes sense, but just as far as like the records and where they go and coming off a loss to then move down and get a title shot, that part doesn't really make sense. But again, sometimes it just doesn't make sense in the UFC, and that's, not a knock on Dana White. Dana White's job is to promote and sell tickets and get us fans excited about it. And I would be excited to watch a Brandon Moreno and Cody Garbrandt fight. The Dillashaw versus the Aljo and Petr Yan fight. I mean, sure, of course I would want to see Dillashaw take on some of these guys. So I don't know. We'll just again just kind of see how the chips fall. So switch gears. Let's go to this weekend's fights. This is the calm before the storm. should I say. There's okay. Main event, we have Uriah Hall versus Sean Strickland. Like I said, Uriah Hall, most famously for his spinning heel kick in the Ultimate Fighter house, not in the house, but in the Ultimate Fighter show. Always a threat for the KO. Sean Strickland, or as I like to call him, the USA version of a young Michael Bisping. If you look at, I don't know, you might be able to see it. Google an old picture of Michael Bisping and look at Sean Strickland. A little bit of similarity there. This is an exciting fight. Sean Strickland is legit. Uriah Hall is always going to be atop that middleweight division. I think he's really settled into that. They have him listed as number 8, so that 8, absolutely a top 15 guy. I'm not sure if we'll ever see the progression for him to challenge for a title at this point in his career, but you never know. I mean, if he goes on puts a hurt on Sean Strickland, we might be having a different conversation come Monday. So we did lose a fight already. It was announced on Smilin' Sam Alvey's Instagram that his fight, he was supposed to be on this card. His fight has fallen out. He said it was from the other side. He didn't give much details, but in the middle of COVID, I think we can all draw our own conclusions about what possibly might have happened there. Let's hope that one gets rebooked. He said he should have an announcement here soon on what's next. So we'll keep an eye on that. Fan favorite, Smiling Sam. Shout out, love the guy. So the co-main event is Kung Ho Kang. Sounds like a Mortal Kombat fighter. I'll take it. Ronnie Yaya, the always threatening, always exciting, a decent bantamweight fight here. Cheyenne Buys versus Gloria DePaula, contender series vet right there. And Cheyenne Buys, very exciting fighter. Another one in that strawweight division, much like Hannah Goldie, that's has some star power potential there. So keep an eye out. A tough test in Gloria DePaula. So absolutely want to keep an eye out for that one. Nicholas Stoltz versus Jared Gooden. Jared Gooden. Welterweight fight there. Ryan Benoit versus Zakra Adeshev in the flyweight division. Brian Barberena. You'll remember him from his fight with very early in his UFC career. He fought. He filled in as a short notice replacement. Sorry about that. Filled in as a short notice replacement for as an opponent for Sage Northcutt, and then came in and submitted Sage Northcutt. He faces Jason Witt. That should be a good fight. Prelim-wise, Nico Montano, the first ever UFC flyweight champion. She held the belt, or she won the belt from the Ultimate Fighter, defeating Roxanne Modafferi, and then subsequently pulled out of a few fights. Was supposed to fight Shevchenko for the title and pulled out, and ultimately Shevchenko was not denied her title fight. I believe she had earned it, obviously, and she has held on the title ever since. Nico Montano since then has only fought one time. I think that was 2019, so I think this was like 27. So in the past 4 years, we've only seen her one time. So keep an eye out for the ring rust with her. She faces Wu Yanan. We'll see how that goes. Colin Anglin versus Melsik Bagdasarian. Now this one, if you keep up with Dana White, this is one of his, if you don't know, now you know, fights to look out with. I absolutely agree. Both of these guys looked very impressive on the Contender Series. Definitely earned their shot at the UFC. And, yeah, I like that one. Chris Grutzenmacher versus Rafa Garcia. Danny Chavez versus Kai Kamaka. Jin Fry versus Ashley Yoder. So this one is an interesting one here too. As I look at this fight, I think this might be a lose and you're out of the UFC fight. I think both of these girls are fighting for their jobs. Ashley Yoder, who's lost four of her last 5. Jin Fry, who's only just came into the UFC in 2020. She was the Invicta Atomweight champion. Atomweight in Invicta is 105 pounds. Straw weight is 115. So she does have that smaller frame. And in her fight so far, not that she hasn't held her own, but some of these girls that are, a little bit higher weight and cut to 115 versus Jin Fry, who probably just kind of walks around at 115. There's a little bit of power discrepancy and a little bit of frame, just overall frame discrepancy. So I'm not sure who wins this one, but they might be. So Jin Fry went 2. She's lost. I think she won her last one, but lost her first 2 in the UFC. So losing 2 out of 3 in the UFC, you come out and lose 3 out of 4, you might be on the chopping block. Ashley Yoder, same thing. I think she was. I think she's lost 4 of her last 5, or 3 of her last 4. So yeah. Not that I mean, I don't want to see anybody cut. I don't want to see anybody lose their job, but this one absolutely looks like one that might be headed down that path. And then we've got Ronnie Lawrence versus Trevin Jones, and the first fight is Phil Rowe versus Orion Kosuke. Orion and his brother both won on the Contender Series, so this will be his first fight. So we'll see how that one goes against Phil Rowe. So if you are a fan of the Contender Series, you're going to recognize a lot of people on here. If you're the casual UFC, you might not recognize a lot, but there is some excitement. There is some intriguing matchups here that to pay attention to, and hopefully we get a good event, and it won't be a repeat like we had last week where, arguably the referees robbed us of a few that should have won. So next week we will be back. We'll recap this UFC fight night, Hall versus Strickland. We will get to preview UFC 265. Excited for that. I'm ready for it. I've been waiting for it. Maybe we'll holler at old Jeff. Maybe we could bring him in. We'll do some fighter picks. We'll go over some news. We'll see what the fallout is here, and then we'll go from there. So thanks for stopping by. Drop some comments. Hit the like button. Subscribe. We'll see you next time.